Joy News Prime.
Welcome to Joy News Prime, the most comprehensive 2 hours of television news in Ghana and beyond, where we bring you all the news that's news. My name is Israelite. Coming up, Petroleum and Energy Minister hints of a further delay in the resumption of crude oil production from the Jubilee field, with revenue implications for the country as well as a possible worsening of the energy situation. We'll tell you why. Ghana's Disaster Management Organization sends out worrying distress signals about its inability to provide relief in the event of a major disaster in the country. President Mahama highlights interventions in the cocoa sector to boost production.
And coming up in business, Minister of Trade Dr. Spio Gabra assures export companies into European countries not to worry about high imposition of taxes on their products.
Now, also in this bulletin, available across Europe via ABN television, we have sports, entertainment, and Joy News Interactive. Please stay tuned. We'll start off with energy issues. And Power Generation Company Limited is celebrating a milestone in its journey to develop its own thermal plant at Akpo in the Greater Accra region. The company says the 350 megawatt plant will contribute significantly in addressing Ghana's energy challenges. Speaking at the unveiling of the boring machine and project update of the company, Vice President Kwesi Mr. Arthur urged Power to engage the country's indigenous firms so they can benefit from technology transfer by the time the project is completed.
Power Generation Company Limited is a special purpose vehicle created to develop the Power Independent Power Plant, or KIPP, in the Tema Industrial Zone. Scheduled to come on stream in 2017, will be the largest private IPP in the country, accounting for approximately 10% of Ghana's total installed capacity and approximately 20% of its available thermal generation capacity. As a combined cycle gas turbine plant, it will be among Ghana's most fuel-efficient thermal power stations, according to managers. Once in production, the KIPP is expected to become a critical base load component in meeting Ghana's growing electricity demand. At the unveiling of tunnel boring machine and project milestone update in Accra, Vice President Kwesi Mr. Arthur urged the company to focus on the development of local capacity in the construction and operation, as well as management of the power plant.
I've been impressed in two ways: the revolutionary techniques that we've been introduced to, but also the introduction of the employment of people from this area, which supports the government's local content policy. So quite a number of people from the Pong area have been employed on this project. They're going to learn, they'll be able later on to maintain the facility, and that also helps to secure the future. Thirdly, as I said, we have seen this the tunnel boring technique. I hope that people are also learning, and it is introducing new technology, and hopefully will transfer technology to the people who work in it, and so we'll be able to utilize that technology in the development of pipe laying for the water system and for electricity and so on in the country, which is also good. So in those three instances, this is very good and helps to secure the future. There's only one aspect which I was asking the contractors, whether the employment of people, whether there are also Ghanaian companies that are being used so that they can also learn from that. Now I'm going to be taking that up with them, because part of the local content is not just to employ people, but also to be able to transfer technology and make them learn from doing things.
Chief Executive Officer of Sen Power Generation Company Limited, Theo Saki, noted they intend to build an economically viable power plant to supply power to the Electricity Company of Ghana.
We have the vision to be recognized as the best independent power producer in Africa and one of the best in the world in terms of safety, reliability, efficiency, and environmental compliance. We have a significant regard for the environment, Your Excellency, and also for health, safety, and social actions. We have, during the term of the construction period to date, have been working closely with the community, including Niteteotu II, the paramount chief, and his elders, in making sure that as an corporate entity, we recognize the values that the society does have, and we work with them.
It is conservatively estimated that the project will create over 600 jobs at peak of production and 200 permanent jobs thereafter.
Well, Petroleum and Energy Minister Emmanuel has dropped hints crude production at the Jubilee field is unlikely to resume this weekend as anticipated by the partners. Production of crude oil and associated gas, which is used to power thermal plants in the western region, was suspended for routine maintenance approximately 4 weeks ago. Jubilee operator Tallow at the time had indicated the job would be completed in 2 weeks. It however requested a further 2 weeks after it identified damage to a critical component of the vessel used in drilling the crude. The sector minister tells Joy News government is working together with the oil companies involved to ensure production resumes as soon as possible.
A very complicated problem, and a lot goes into doing that. What we've told them is that yes, we want the gas, because as you know, it has serious implications for our power production. As we speak, almost 500 megawatts. We have 250 Ameri sitting there. We have some other Asoglis not working because of that. And so you know what our priorities are. But we are also saying that we have to do this in a way that ensures the integrity of the whole FPSO and oil production. You understand? Because that is important for us. And so we are working with them, making sure that this happens as quickly as possible, taking safety and the complicated processes into account.
So from what you said, you think, let's say the remaining, let's say the 2 weeks, the extra 2 weeks added on, is it feasible?
I think I've stated what my wish is. My wish is that all of that will be done for us to have gas and produce oil.
And aside your wish.
But guess what? I understand. I've been on the FPSO, and I know how complicated this whole process is, and the safety issues around it. In the final analysis, our oil, our resource is there. It's not going anywhere. We want this to be done for as quickly as possible, but it has to be done in a way that doesn't create disaster or problems. And so we are working with them to make sure it happens.
So Ghanaians should not...
We are working with them to make sure it happens.
All right, so what does this mean? And I'd like to take you a few weeks back when we had this release from Jubilee field from the tallow oil. This statement actually came out on April 8th. It was about 2 weeks ago. And it talks about the challenges they are having. And it talked about the turret bearing on the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah, which it says has been damaged and is no longer able to rotate as originally designed. As a result, this was going to affect oil and gas production. It says the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah has now been placed on heading control through the use of tags which minimize vessel movement around the bearing. Essentially, it has implications if we're not able to produce as much gas, or we're not able to produce gas to power plants in the western region. The Ameri power plant is the one we're talking about here. And I'd like to quickly go to a statement that came from the Ghana, or the Load Management Committee, talking about the fact that because we're having challenges with gas production in the Jubilee field, and we're also having challenges with gas coming from Nigeria, essentially there will be some challenges in the system, and so you can expect some form of, well, you can say, load shedding during the period. Now, the delay in the resumption of production has serious implications. Apart from government falling short of its revenue projections, natural gas used in powering thermal plants in the western region will also not be available. The Ameri power plant, for instance, currently is unable to generate its 250 megawatts because it relies solely on gas. The Ghana Grid Company, in the statement I talked to you about 2 weeks ago, highlighted the fact that coupled with the lack of gas from Nigeria, there may not be enough electricity to go around, which means some load shedding may be done. So that's the update as far as our energy situation is concerned, and the implications of the FPSO not being able to resume production. In other news, President John Mahama says his NDC-led government has introduced some interventions aimed at revamping cocoa production in the country. Amongst them, he says, is a distribution of free cocoa seedlings and other farm inputs needed for successful cocoa cultivation to individuals who are ready and willing to engage in the farming of the produce. President Mahama mentioned these during separate durbas in Hohoi in the Akan district during his Accounting to the People tour of the Volta region.
According to President Mahama, cocoa production in the Volta region has dwindled over the years, hence government's decision to support farmers in such areas to boost production. He however pleaded with chiefs and traditional authorities to make available lands to persons who are ready to go into cocoa farming to make a living and improve their lives. He said a revamped cocoa industry would also increase the country's foreign exchange.
And so areas around Hohoi, Lipe, and all those areas, Alabanyo, Konya, those areas, we are encouraging our traditional rulers to allocate land to young farmers who want to go into cocoa growing so that we can assist them to be able to do so. Government on this part is giving everything free of charge. The cocoa seedlings are free. The inputs are free. All you need is the land. And we will bring the cocoa extension officers to show you how to plant the cocoa. And they will help you and supervise you until the cocoa is grown. And today, with the hybrid cocoa seedlings we are using, in 3 years it starts fruiting. In 5 years it is mature.
President Mahama, who stated that his government in the last 3 years has undertaken massive infrastructure projects in various sectors, reiterated government's commitment to completing works on the Eastern Corridor Road and other ongoing projects. He promised that 7.5 kilometers of road within KJB and 10 kilometers of Hohoi Township roads would be resurfaced with asphalt, while construction works would soon commence on the Hohoi-Fodome roads and some other major projects in the region.
We are working hard on all the other stretches of the Eastern Corridor Road because I know that this is a project that is high on the hearts of the people of the Volta region.
President Mahama also justified his Accounting to the People tour, explaining that he is on the tour to render account and update Ghanaians on projects and programs his government has undertaken in the last 3 years, and also listen to the needs of chiefs in their respective jurisdictions. He likened the objective of his tour to that of the local authorities, where chiefs organize periodic debates to update their subjects about development in their areas.
When you're put in a position of leadership, or you're giving a responsibility to discharge, it is necessary for you to account to your people. and tell them how you have discharged that responsibility, and to also interact with them and find out what more they expect you to do. It is a charge that is placed not only on secular leadership but also on traditional leadership. And that's why from time to time our chiefs and traditional rulers hold festivals, sit in state and talk about the states of their paramountcies and their kingdoms, interact with the people and understand what the felt needs of the people are, so that they can formulate what new strategies to bring development to the area. It is the same with the mandate you gave me. 3.5 years ago, you swore me in as your president. You swore me in based on a manifesto that we presented to the people of Ghana.
Earlier, President Mahama and his entourage inspected progress of work on Dapa Pampawie Ahamasu Junction Coco Road project and inaugurated a 46.4 kilometers Dodo Pipisu Nkwanta Road. Fred Kwame Asari's report from the Volta region.
We're taking a break on Joy News Prime, but we have more stories coming up. Please don't go away. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. The Center for Democratic Development, CDD, says despite the strides made in the area of democracy and good governance in Africa, a lot more needs to be done. A two-day meeting with various think tanks from 10 African countries highlighted the desire by a good number of the continent's leaders to entrench themselves in power. In an interview with Joy News, the Executive Director of CDD Ghana, Professor Jima Bwedi, said more needs to be done to end bad governance.
Over the past 2 days, a group of us, think tank leaders from 10 countries, have been meeting with the U.S. State Department officials, specifically the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Africa. The objective of the meeting was for all of us to take stock of the democracy and governance agenda in Africa today. Progress, challenges, and prospects.
Your assessment, what did you find?
Well, I think the best way to describe it was is that we thought the glass was half full.
So in your opinion, or per your assessment, there is progress when it comes to democracy and governance in Africa?
There has been progress, but that we are also witnessing stagnation and in some cases decline. We are seeing this in the form of the attempts that some presidents are making to unconstitutionally extend the limits on their tenure in office. We have seen that, we see that manifested in the ways in which in many of our countries governments are attempting to clamp down on media freedoms and also to foreclose the space for civic action, sometimes by promulgating laws that restrict freedom of association and also freedom of speech.
From the assessment in Ghana, how does it look like in terms of democracy and governance?
For Ghana, well, I mean, you and I live here, so maybe you may want to know how democracy and governance looks like in other countries. But we were not talking about country specifics. We're really talking about the continent, the region, and about democracy and governance in broad terms.
Now, security expert with the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Center, Dr. Kwesi Ening, is calling for a paradigm shift in Ghana's security system from the current strict military intervention to a forensic one. According to him, the increasing rate of terrorism and suicide activities cannot be won with military interventions if a forensic scientific database is not developed by the country. Speaking at the seminar organized by the Forensic Science Department of the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Ening warned the country is treading dangerous ground if it concentrates all its efforts in the military whilst ignoring scientific interventions that can eliminate such terrorists.
Forensic science draws on several areas in the sciences to help law enforcement agencies in their investigations. It is a critical component of the sciences that helps in the effective delivery of the justice system and, more importantly, a central pillar in the detection of crime. According to Dr. Kwesienin, with the increasing rate of terrorism and other criminal activities across the world, any country that has a weak database like Ghana is most vulnerable and can easily be surprised. Speaking at a seminar organized by the Forensic Science Department of the University of Cape Coast, the security expert with the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Center called for the establishment of a DNA database, a major step that can assure foreign investors of security in the country's economy.
When something happens, it is the military that should go in first. Guns blazing, let's destroy the enemy. Unfortunately, what happens when the military leads, particularly in the war on terror, is that by leaving the police behind, by not taking the forensic scientists, the evidence is trampled upon so badly that you cannot collect forensically enough evidence to present before a competent court of jurisdiction.
The head of the Forensic Science Department of the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Richard Afuakwa, underscored the need for Ghana to pay urgent attention to the development of forensic science in the country. Richard Kodonyakos reports for Joy News.
The Accra Region Police Commanders assured authorities of the Achimota School of increased police patrols on the campus as a measure to ward off criminal activities there. The school authorities and residents had raised concerns crime had gone up in the area and that they were living in fear. It followed the discovery of dead bodies in the area and brazen attempts by some persons to encroach on the school's lands.
Vast land belonging to the school in the past decade has been threatened by encroachers and squatters with their illegal activities. Private developers, churches, and individuals have targeted the lands designated to meet the diverse needs of the school. According to school authorities, at least 5 bodies have been found in a part of the Achimota school compound, which has been encroached by squatters and state developers in less than 1 year under mysterious circumstances. Describing the situation as a security threat, headmistress of the school, Beatrice Adom, says the over 3,000 students and staff in the school currently live in fear. She called for immediate intervention from the police administration because the school is helpless in the fight.
If you don't have documents, you have no business being there. You don't have papers, so they cannot be there. With or without court restrictions, they cannot be there. But if we wait and say go to court, and this court system takes a long time, then they would have finished building. Then we say because they finished, we cannot demolish. It doesn't augur well for the entire nation. Recently, we've had a lot of murder cases. Just this academic year, we've had 5 murder cases on the compound. And one is still very active. Somebody has been murdered on the school compound. The body is in a terrible state of decomposition. And we are scared because we are taking care of children.
Aside that, the nuisance caused by the churches around also affects teaching and learning. Some parents and residents also shared similar concerns.
Well, I feel threatened, and I believe every parent must feel threatened as well as the school, which is why we have sent letters to the Ministry of Education to have the place walled.
Okay, we feel very bad because we don't have a lot of security around us because people are complaining, snatching bags and things.
These cases were recorded. In fact, it disturbs us a lot in our community.
The Accra Region Police Commander, who has been meeting school authorities and some residents of Achimota, is assuring them of an increased police presence. COP George Dampari, however, disagreed that 5 bodies have been found in the school compound in less than a year.
we were cautious about the use of the word murder. Issue of such deaths that have come to our attention are two. The one that we are currently witnessing, and the second one, which was an alleged hanging by an individual hanging himself, is the issues that have come up. And we said that the past 2.5 years, we've seen about 6 of them. But the important thing is this: the other issues of somebody probably stopping somebody, which is a purely separate criminal thing that has been handled. About 3 that has come to the attention. All those things are being investigated in accordance with an issue of what murder. We are going to walk the community, and I've given instructions to the command at the level and also the divisional command, and also the region. I myself and my team will come around, and especially Achimota Forest itself, to see what actually is there that we can work on to improve security, working with any stakeholder whose responsibility is to keep the forest. We are also going to increase the patrols, especially we know that people come there to have all sort of activities conducted, and also those people who are probably trespassing lands of Achimota School and any other one that we think that is a criminal thing that we need to look at it. I've consulted with my crime officer who will deal with our legal office and see what is it that we can do to deal with it in a manner that will bring sanity in the area.
Matilda Pumaga for Joy News, Accra.
The Accra Region Police Command has also begun a community outreach program in Accra to interact with residents over issues bothering on peace and security. Accra Region Commander COP George Dampare made his first stop at Achimota to interact with chiefs and opinion leaders in the community, assuring them of increased police presence.
The whole idea of community police engagement model is to ensure that we bring the supply-driven methods and the demand-driven methods to a center, so that we fuse the two together in order to achieve better results. And we feel that achieving better results and bringing everybody on board will continue to make our country safe, the metropolis safe, and by extension the country, and Ghana will continue to be envy of the world. And it's a sustainable program, like I said, myself spending the whole day in the community, and thereafter my divisional commander for the area also spending the whole day in the community at a future date to assess the work that we've done on the issues that we've agreed on and moving forward in order to keep improving. The important thing is that this will not take anything away from what we are doing already. The patrols are ongoing, both by uniform and plainclothes people that people cannot see. Where we need to put people in various intersections are also being done, with the visibility people also at the various points. So this is in addition to what is currently going on. By now, beyond we doing all what we are doing, we are bringing the community on board and engaging them in a way that will help us to improve upon what we are doing. And where, after engaging with the community, as we are doing today, we need to change probably where we are patrolling or spend more time at one particular location instead of the other, we will do that. Where we have to bring in more patrol, move resources from a place that is not needed now to where it is needed, we will do that. So it's all about strategizing to make maximum use of the resources that we have and getting everybody on board and building a necessary confidence with the public so as for them to be able also to come forward, and more importantly, the thing that we need most to solving crime, sharing information in the form of intelligence, and for us to move on it and do that. And I know it is going to happen. And you were talking about sustainability, and I've shared with you that this is not an individual project, even though it's an initiative by an individual at the regional level. It's going to be incorporated in our things that we do in such a way that everybody will get on board.
Now, COP Dampare says the initiative will be replicated in the 14 divisions in the region to combat crime. You're watching Joy News Prime, and still to come in the bulletin, the financial challenges affecting state organizations and the Ghana Prison Service, which is charged with the responsibility of reforming inmates, is really under serious financial control. We'll be back with more, but right after the break, we'll bring you business news. Time for business, and Emmanuel has joined me, and he has all the business news. Good evening to you, Emmanuel.
Good evening, Izzy. How are you today?
I'm good.
Now, I'd like to pick your brains on this particular issue of the development that is coming on now.
The FPSO.
The FPSO. I mean, yeah. What do you think about it? The implications on business?
Clearly, first of all, let's start with the implications on the state, because we're expecting revenue from crude the crude oil that's produced in the Jubilee field. We're going to be losing production for about a month. And that certainly has implications. I mean, we can talk about the fact that crude prices are pretty low, even though they're picking up. But the fact that we're not getting anything at all for the period has implications for government projections. Government would have projected that it's going to make so much from crude resources, and that's not happening for at least.
That will certainly impact on the budget's projections.
So it's not happening for a month. And then apart from that, we're also looking at the impact of electricity, or the electricity challenges we're having on businesses. Because if we're not getting gas flowing to the Western Enclave for Ameri, from plants like Ameri to use to power, to produce electricity, it means that we're not going to get that electricity. Apart from that, it means we will also have to be using crude oil, which is essentially more expensive.
Should we concern ourselves so much with the impact on electricity? Because I know that some of the machines or the equipment use dual operation systems.
Yes, some of them use dual, but Ameri doesn't use dual. So there's 250 megawatts.
That's a lot.
That's sitting there that we're not using or not using to produce electricity. So certainly has implications, and we should be worried. But we're hopeful that everybody else involved in this is eager to see a resolution to the problem. Talo wants to see a resolution to the problem as quickly as possible. The state also wants to see a resolution to the problem so that we can get our gas.
But you know, is it not an irony that just a week before, I mean, the petroleum minister went onto the FPSO and he was assured that on Saturday, that's 23rd April, it will be over. And then come today, he says, the situation is bad.
You can give all the assurance you want, but if you look at if you understand the critical nature of the problem we're looking at, they may as well hold on and do it right.
All right. Okay, so we'll get the details later.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so other stories in business. The Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Ekos Piogabra, has assured Ghanaian exporters into the European Union market government will take every necessary step to protect the country's exports within the framework of the Economic Partnership Agreement, EPA. He made a comment when a delegation of the major exporting companies in the country paid a courtesy call on him to express their concerns over a possible lack of market access into the EU by October 1.
Follows threats from the European Union to impose high tariffs on exports to aid markets if Ghana and other ECOWAS countries do not sign the Economic Partnership Agreement EPA by October. The major firms that export to the EU market have said the delay in signing the agreement could see them shut down, resulting in over 5,000 workers losing their jobs. But according to Dr. Spiogabra, the ministry is currently seeking cabinet input and support on options open to Ghana in the wake of the 1st October deadline given by the EU in granting market access to Ghana. He said, and I quote, "Let me, however, assure all exporters and their employees that government has much interest in ensuring economic growth, increase in employment, as well as an expansion in export trade and industry, and will do whatever it takes to protect Ghanaian exports in the EU." End of quote. The leader of delegation, George Poi, who is also the corporate affairs and administration manager of Golden Exotics Limited, appealed for government intervention, emphasizing stakeholders of the various companies are getting nervous of losing their investments and jobs.
The National Disaster Management Organization will not be able to provide relief should there be any serious disaster in the country. Acting National Coordinator Brigadier General Francis Nziri warns this is because the organization is indebted to its suppliers to the tune of over 40 million cedis. A situation, he says, has compelled the contractors to suspend supply and have further resorted to the law courts to get their monies paid. The development is said to have depleted the stores of NADMO, making it unreliable and incapable of responding to any serious disaster.
Responding to audit queries raised in the 2012 and 2013 Auditor General's report, Brigadier General Sansiri said the organization is yet to settle a 40 million debt it owes its contractors. According to him, most of the suppliers have suspended business with NADMO and have resorted to the courts to get their monies paid. According to him, money released by government was only able to pay for debt incurred in 2015, which mainly came from supplies for relief items for victims of the June 3rd flood and fire disaster. He explained that the organization was directed by the finance minister to pay the 2015 debt, a situation which infuriated their suppliers who are yet to be paid for work done in 2014.
We presented a total, our total indebtedness to Ministry of Interior and to Ministry of Finance. But when the monies were released, or the check was released, the letter that accompanied the check was very specific, that for the payment of June 3rd supplies, and it tallied with the total amount that was the June 3rd suppliers had given. So there was no option for NATMO to change by using that to pay 2014. So we definitely had to pay 2015, and that is why 2014 is still outstanding.
Brigadier General Sansiri has also been responding to audit queries raised against the organization, including dead persons still receiving salaries.
Last year when I was appointed and I went there, that was what was going on. It was central pitches. And this year we are equally going to do central pitches. It's not going to be decentralized.
I agree, but whether or not the procurements are at the central point, even when you dispatch to the various districts and all offices, it's still, when they are taking it out, it still has to be put in the voucher, in the ledger. You agree? So necessarily procuring at the central point doesn't cure this, because the staff will be there. When it's getting out of stores, it still needs to be recorded that this and that was taken for this disaster situation. So I think that it's more of an internal, strengthening your internal monitoring mechanisms and making sure that even when procurements are not done at that level, they will still be giving out these items that have been procured.
Now, the Ghana Prison Service, charged with the responsibility of reforming inmates, is really in a serious financial crisis. Authorities at the Nsawam Government Hospital have suspended medical care to inmates due to an outstanding 80,000 debt yet to be settled. But the bigger picture is the service is seriously under-resourced, and that is having a negative impact on its core mandate. Director General Emmanuel Ajato says budgetary support for the running of the service has been disappointing.
Our total requirement for 2015 was about 62 million. And out of the 62 million, 14 million was approved. Approved by Parliament. And 10 million was released. And out of the 10 million, 8 million was used to settle prisoners' ration, leaving a balance of 2 million or so. So the 2 million that was to be used for all various prison activities: rent, fuel, prisoner discharge, transport, every activities that prisons incur.
Well, Deputy Interior Minister James Agalga says government is taking steps to improve conditions at the prisons. He was also speaking at the Public Accounts Committee.
Due to budgetary constraints, spread the responsibility, over a period of time. And so the releases are not forthcoming the way they should be, but at least releases have been made. And so we are very confident that moving forward, additional releases are going to be made for us to clear the indebtedness. We have been following up, and speaking from where I am seated, I can assure this committee that that particular problem will be resolved.
Up next, we bring you entertainment. What's the latest on Coach Kenichi?
He's fine.
You haven't resolved it.
Yes, but today Hearts did not win. They drew.
Some way, pal.
Yes,
they are troubling the guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hands off Kenichi.
All right.
With the fans.
Okay. So, again, welcome to the Sports on Prime. Hello, I'm Gary Al Smith, and Mediama is in our top story today. The Takwa-based club have gone through to the playoffs of the CAF Confederations Cup. This afternoon, they needed a win of any margin against Sudanese club Al Ali Shandi to be able to get into the playoffs. And the Mauves and Yellows put in a great performance to beat the Sudanese club 2-0 at the Sipon Stadium this afternoon. Goals from Abbas Mohammed and Kwame Boahene, where all the FA Cup champions needed to secure a win. The first leg ended goalless up east. Now, the winners of the 1/8 round of the CAF Confederations Cup will be pitted against the losing clubs of the 1/8 round of the CAF Champions League, and that will determine the 8 clubs for the group stage. There'll be 4 in Group A and 4 in Group B. Well done to Mediama.
Bulletin before we go to a quick run through our top stories. Petroleum and Energy Minister hints of a further delay in the resumption of crude oil production from the Jubilee field, with revenue implications for the country as well as a possible worsening of the energy situation. Ghana's Disaster Management Organization sent out worrying signals about its inability to provide relief in the event of a major disaster in the country. President Mahama has highlighted interventions in the cocoa sector to boost production. And that'll be all for the bulletin. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Yusuf Delali. On behalf of the team, I wish you a good night.